New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
Hey everyone, good evening. This is Mary Berger, and you are tuning in right now to Diva Talk, the every other Thursday evening show about technology from my perspective and what's happening in my technology world and what's kind of been going on with my customers and any information that I think that you might need to know. So with that said, welcome. I'm so glad that you are listening in, and I'm going to try and find this on, here we go. I am, so this, just for a point of reference, Diva Talk is produced by New 72 Media. Kelly Lair is the producer working behind the scenes. She starts this, excuse me, this broadcast, and it goes live out on Zoom. And probably about 30 seconds later, it goes live out on Facebook. And I'm going to kind of bring in the Facebook page on my iPad that is over here so I can possibly see comments. And so I'll write my first comment. Hey, everyone. So thank you for joining in. I have been absent from the airwaves for about, I'm thinking 3 to 4 months, maybe. I think sometime in October was my last live show. A lot has happened since October, and there's some really good reasons why I have not been on the air, and I will outline those for you. So one of the first things that happened, of course, our fabulous, wonderful Kelly went on a much needed and deserved vacation to parts around the world, and had a fabulous time. I'm looking forward to hearing all about her trip escapades. We are having lunch tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. So then, okay, so what happened after that was in early November, my mom had an accident. She fell and broke 5 ribs along her back side on the right. And she was in the hospital for 7 days, and then in a skilled nursing facility for 10 days after that. And then needed a lot of care once she got home from the hospital. She actually came home from the hospital the day after Thanksgiving. And the skilled nursing facility actually gave her a day pass for Thanksgiving. So she was home with the family on Thanksgiving. And so, you know, I've had all of that to deal with caring for mom and making sure that she has everything she needs and she's comfortable. And the good news about all of this is she is fully recovered, fully healed from the 5 broken ribs. And if anybody out there hasn't had any broken ribs, what I can tell you from observing my mom during the past couple of months, especially the first few weeks of her recovery, is that broken ribs are probably one of the most painful things you can ever live through. And she just was a trooper, and she got through it really well. So she is now walking around, she is active, she is driving, and doing really, really well. So for all of those of you out there who sent well wishes her way, I thank you, she thanks you, and all of that is now kind of behind us. And of course, then we had the holidays, and you know how that goes. Holidays just keeps you busy. So I kind of put Diva Care or Diva Talk on hold while we were going through all of this. And Kelly and I touched base probably beginning of January, and we set tonight as being the first night of 2018 that we were back live on the air, and it feels so good to be back. And I'm thrilled to be here. So if anybody is watching from Facebook, I am watching the feed live here. So if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out to me. Typically, we don't have a whole lot of questions on this show, mainly because I just kind of barrel through it, and I'm really not paying attention to the Facebook feed, but tonight I am. So here we go. So what else has been happening? So while we were kind of going through that entire process of Mom's recovery, right about the same time, I went on a life-changing quest, I guess you could say. I decided to totally change my diet, and it has been really, really successful. So what did I do and how did I do it? So I had been, probably last summer, several months ago, I started reading a series of books from Anthony Williams, who is called The Medical Medium. And just a little background on Anthony Williams: when he was probably, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 6 years old, he realized that he could communicate with a particular entity on the other side. He was actually, and I'm sure I've told this story before on this show, but I'm going to repeat it just in case I haven't. He was at the dinner table with his family, and he saw an entity standing behind one of his relatives on the other side of the table, and the entity said, "Say Grandma has cancer." So he was kind of freaked out about it, but I mean, he did what the entity said, and he said, "Grandma has cancer." And the family around the table just kind of stared at him and said, what? So they for whatever reason, they took his statement to heart, and Grandma went in for an examination, and Grandma had cancer. And ever since that point, Anthony Williams has been, this entity that speaks to him has been a constant companion, and has spent the past couple of decades now teaching Anthony Williams all about medicine and healing, healing the natural way. And Anthony Williams can really walk up to just about anybody on the street and look at them, and this entity will tell Anthony what is medically wrong with this person. And then he will tell Anthony, okay, tell this person this is how they heal themselves. And it's all done through diet. So he has 3 books out now. One is all about general healing. The other is the 50 foods you want to make sure you have in your diet. And they come in, I think it's 4 different categories: fruits, vegetables, nuts and grains, and herbs. Those are the 4 different categories. And what Anthony Williams has been told by the entity that he works with is that we should not be fearful of fruits in our diet. The common misconception about fruits is that they're full of sugars. Well, they are full of sugars, but they're natural sugars, and they're very healthy and good for you. And in Anthony Williams' books, he talks about bringing as much fruits into your diet as possible, and of course vegetables, grains and nuts, and herbs. And in November, he came out with a book on healing your thyroid. Well, I have a hypothyroid condition, and I've had it for probably 25, 30 years. Yeah, about 30 years. And he goes into the causes of thyroid issues, and it all relates back to Epstein-Barr virus. And there's a fascinating chapter in the book that talks about the origins of Epstein-Barr, EBV. And it's starting out in the mid-1800s, and when a lot of toxins and metals were introduced into not only our water supply, but our food supply, and how that got itself embedded into our bodies, and how it really harms us. And just about all diseases can be traced back to an Epstein-Barr virus. And so in this book about healing your thyroid, he talks about the kind of diet that you need to to be putting yourself on in order to kind of reverse all these effects of Epstein-Barr. And a lot of people, poo-poo it and talk about it as being woo-woo stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing better for you than eating natural, healthy foods. And from the moment I started reading this particular book back in early November, I was hooked, and I found it incredibly easy for me to switch my diet and totally change the way I eat. I no longer eat processed foods. I no longer eat dairy. I no longer eat gluten. I no longer eat beef. The only exception was on Christmas Day when we had a prime rib for Christmas dinner, so I ate a little bit of prime rib. So I eat raw fruits and vegetables. I will eat cooked vegetables. So my diet consists of basically a smoothie for breakfast that has orange juice, fresh oranges, and then I have wild blueberries. I'm usually frozen, and then I have frozen strawberries. That gives it that nice, cool, crisp, icy type feeling to it. I'll have usually a salad for lunch, and for dinner, I used to when I was on the first 30 days of the first 28 days of the diet. It was a 28-day cleanse, and I would have green smoothies for lunch. Now, Anthony Williams said you should have a fruit smoothie for breakfast, a fruit smoothie mid-morning, then a green smoothie at lunch, and some sort of vegetable soup or a salad for dinner. I couldn't bring myself to have 2 fruit smoothies a day. It was just way, way too much food. And and the other thing that goes in these smoothies is bananas. 3 bananas in each smoothie. So 6 bananas a day, that was a bit too much for me. So anyway, I followed that diet for 28 days. That diet ended the day before Thanksgiving, and I was down, I think it was 10 pounds, 10 or 12 pounds at that point in time, which was phenomenal for 28 days. And really, a lot of people kept telling me, you're not getting enough protein in your diet. Well, the communication between Anthony Williams and this entity, the entity says that's a misnomer. It's a misconception. It's not true that the fresh fruits and vegetables give you plenty of protein. And, I'm not suffering from it right now. I'm doing great. Now, after that first 28 days, I started to incorporate chicken, fish, and brown rice into my diet. And everything that I just told you about what I eat, and the chicken, the fish, and the brown rice, is pretty much what I eat now. There are exceptions. I went to a client's office in the Dalles on Monday and installed a new computer. And I had worked for probably about 3 hours, and we were both starving. My client ordered a pizza, and I had a couple of slices of pizza. So, there are those exceptions now and then, but it's few and far between. If I'm out at a social gathering and food that I'm not used to eating is being served, I will eat, but I'll eat in moderation. And it's really not all that often. I really tightly control what I'm eating. So anyway, that's what I've been doing, and that's kind of the diet that I've been on, and it's really working for me. And if somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, do you ever think you'll go back to eating the way you used to eat? No, I don't think I will. I really don't think I will. And I will gradually remove the chicken and the fish from my diet. It's a process. I can't cut everything out all at once. So it's a process. It may take a year or so to get myself to the point where I'm just gradually cutting that out. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. The other thing that is new in my life is the laptop that I am broadcasting this show on. I bought it on Sunday. My old laptop was 5 years old, and it was really slowing down. And I really decided that I needed to practice what I preach. And hey, Athena, nice to see you watching. I needed to practice what I preach, and I went out and bought a new laptop. It's so people ask me, the few people that I've told my new laptop story about this week, they say, so what does the ComputerDiva recommend when you buy a new laptop? So I went out and I had certain criteria that I wanted in a laptop for me. And that criteria was I wanted the fastest processor I could possibly find. I wanted, which is an Intel Core i7 8th generation processor. And I wanted minimum of 16 gigabytes of RAM, RAM, random access memory. I wanted a solid state drive. I really, really wanted a solid state drive. But in order to get solid state drives in the size that I wanted, which was at least 500 gigabytes, you're talking huge, huge money to be outlaid for a new laptop. And I wanted a 17-inch screen because my last laptop that I was replacing had a 17-inch screen. And I was used to it. And I thought, I might have a problem going down to a 15-inch screen. So in my office, right above me, about this level, I have this huge, I don't know, it's a 24-inch monitor that's hooked up to my laptop. So not only do I have my laptop monitor right here, but right above it, I have a huge, huge monitor. So it gives me plenty of real estate space in order to do all my work. And then I also, over on this side of me, I have another laptop right down here. And attached to that, hanging on the wall, is, I don't know, a 23 or 24-inch monitor. So I've got a lot of workspace here. I've got a lot of technology. And of course, I've got technology behind me as well. But I was really kind of hung up on the fact that I would only have 15 inches down on I'm hesitating because Kelly just sent me a message saying that it looks like everything kind of froze, but I'm looking at the Facebook feed here and it looks like that has not frozen, froze. So I'm just going to send her a message. Continue on. Facebook looks okay. So we're not going to start over. We're just going to continue on. Facebook looks okay. Hey, Melody, nice to see you here. So with that said, so what I ended up buying, so I just listed my criteria: Intel Core i7 8th generation processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 500 gigabyte solid state drive, and a 17-inch monitor. What did I end up with? The brand is an HP. I settled for a 15-inch monitor, which turns out to be fine. I have plenty of real estate right here in these 15 inches along with the monitor above me. So 15 inches is okay. And I got the processor I wanted, Intel Core i7, 8th generation processor, woohoo. And I got 12 gigabytes of RAM memory, but that's okay because that's easily replaceable. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM in my old laptop. I'll pop it out of there, pop it into this new one, and I'll have the amount of memory that I want, and it's not costing me any extra bucks. And then in terms of the solid state drive, I didn't get a solid state drive. I opted to get one with a 1 terabyte SATA drive, SATA, which is one of the old technology drives that has the platter that spins around and the needle that you know goes over it looking for data, just like a record player. But those drives are easily replaceable. All I have to do is pop off a panel on the bottom of my computer. I take out the old drive, I clone it onto a new solid state drive, I pop the solid state drive in and boot up the laptop. Easy for me to say, not so easy for most of you to do, but it's easy for me to do. That's just what I do. So for about probably $249, I can get my 500 gigabyte SSD drive, put it in my computer. And the nice thing about the SSD drives, I've talked about those before on the radio show, is that, hey Beth, nice to see you. She says Facebook looks great, so that's awesome. The solid state drives are, there's no moving parts, so there's no record player with the needle on it going back and forth trying to find your data. So they scream in speed. I had a MacBook that I bought back in December of 2011. so a little over 6 years ago, and it had a regular SATA drive in it. 6 months later, I put a solid state drive in it, and the boot time went from 2 minutes down to about 15 seconds. That's the difference that it makes. And if you're familiar with MacBook Air, any of the really, really thin Windows laptops, a lot of the Lenovo products that are really thin, they all have solid state drives, and they're super fast. But the deal with solid state drives is they're spendy. So when you're going out to buy a laptop off the shelf, you're probably only going to find 256 gigabyte solid state drives, and I just needed something bigger. So anyway, that's what I bought, and that's what I'm broadcasting this show on, and it's awesome. Kelly on the other end, before we started the show, said that it was screaming fast, and things sounded really clear and looked really clear. Of course, I've got my high def camera here. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on. Athena says, hi, Mary, I'm not able to tune in from any of my devices. And Kelly says, for those of you who have technical issues, it appears to be spotty. The recording will be up by tomorrow on News 72 Media's YouTube page. So I'm just going to forge ahead. I'm not going to stop the broadcast and start all over again, because I'm kind of on a roll here, and we can all see the recording tomorrow. A couple of shout outs. For those of you who can actually see me live, I want to say a big shout out to Thelma. Thelma is one of my biggest fans, and she watches every live broadcast, and she has been looking forward to the broadcast tonight. And I just want to say, hey, Thelma, I'm so glad you are one of my biggest fans. She's also probably, I shouldn't say this, but she's one of my oldest fans. This woman is in her 90s, and she watches this show diligently. So shout out to Thelma. I'm really appreciative of the fact that you are such a good fan and that you always tune into my shows. So thank you very much for that. I also want to say a shout out to a couple of other people, clients that I used to have in the past that for whatever reason, they kind of went their own ways, but they're now back. Anne, from the salon, I want to say thank you so much. It's a pleasure doing business with you, and I'm glad you're back. And Patty and Company from the business office here in Vancouver, I'm really glad you guys are back as well. So pleasure doing business with both of you in 2018. Year in review. What's been happening at ComputerDiva in 2018? I ran some statistics, and I wanted to let you all know about it. So for just about every request I have coming in, and they come in a lot of different forms, I create a ticket in my client system, and then all my correspondence flows through that ticket, hopefully, and that's how I document everything I did, and that's how the clients get their documentation. So in 2017, I had 1,418 official client ticket requests. Now, there were more requests than that, because a lot of them get resolved just by an email back and forth or a phone call. A client will say, hey, you know, this is going on, what should I do? And I'll let them know, and we hang up the phone, and my days are really busy. A lot of times I don't turn around to my system and input that as an official ticket. But 1,418 official tickets. So that averages about 118 tickets per month, 27 on a weekly average, and about 5.4 tickets per day. When I saw the 5.4 tickets per day statistic, I thought that's really low, and I'm vowing this year to be more diligent about documenting all the requests that I get. And like I said, the reason that I don't document some of them is it can be time consuming. So I don't, but it will give me some much better statistics next year. So I thought you guys might find all of that kind of interesting. It just kind of shows how busy I am. Last year in 2017, Well, first of all, in 2016, I introduced my Diva Care. Diva Care. That's what it was in 2016. It was Diva Care. June 1st of 2016, Diva Care came out. It was automated maintenance for your computer, and it went great. It went great in 2016. I had a lot of subscribers coming on board. Last year in 2017, it exploded. I brought on really 3 additional products. I'm going to say my Diva Care Lite, even though that came out in 2016, it really, really exploded in 2017. It's a great product. It's doing really well. The only difference between Diva Care Pro and Diva Care Lite is what it costs you for labor. If you have to call me and say, hey, my computer is doing this, can you fix it? So with Diva Care Lite, you get a 10% discount on your labor, and that discount may grow larger this year. I'm looking at all sorts of different options. Diva Care Pro, your labor for any maintenance related phone calls is absolutely free. And that's working out really well. So both of those products are going great. I introduced an online backup service back in September, and really haven't advertised it all that much, but it itself is going really well. It's paying for itself anyway, so I'm not losing any money on it. I'm making a little bit of money on it, but I'm hoping in 2018 to really, really produce that and push it out there and advertise it and grow the subscriptions on that. And I'll probably talk a little bit about that in a little while. What are we doing for time here? Oh, we're doing good. And then the one product that I released last year, I believe it was in July or August, I'm thinking August, was my Diva Care Antivirus. That has been a huge, huge runaway seller. And it's managed antivirus for your computer. And if your computer has any virus activity, I get a message. And so that way I can look at your computer, be a little bit proactive about what's happening with your computer instead of having these viruses sit on your computer for weeks and weeks or months and months until you finally get to the point where your computer is running so slow and there's pop-up windows all over the place and you can't be productive. Instead, we catch it, boom, right when it happens, and most of the time you don't even know that anything's happened on your computer. It's just being protected that well. So Diva Care Managed Antivirus, huge, huge seller. I think I'm now protecting about 150 computers on Diva Care Managed Antivirus, which is not too shabby for it only being out about 6 or 7 months. So I'm really, really excited about that. I think I install a new computer. These days, it's almost every day. And when I do install a new computer for any of my Diva Care products, I put a huge congratulations on my Instagram page. I really should do the Facebook page as well, but Instagram is about all I can handle these days. So, so moving on, that's kind of my 2017 year in review. Extremely busy year, very good year. Thank you, everyone who trusted me to take care of your computers. So in a couple of the networking groups I belong to 2 networking groups right now, my Connect to Success groups in Portland, Oregon, and my WIO group in Vancouver, Washington. With Connect to Success for about 5 or 6 years now, we start out our year by declaring what our word of the year is. Each member declares their word of the year. And last night in my WIO meeting, we each stood up and declared what our word of the year would be. So just to let everybody know, my word of the year for 2018 is joy. I plan on doing everything in a joy-filled perspective. I'm going to look at everything in terms of joy. I'm going to try and have as much joy in my life as possible. And I kind of hope that will spill on to everybody else, because this world right now needs a lot of joy. So that's my word of the year for 2018. I'm just saying it right here. So I wanted to kind of go over, just take a brief moment and talk about how you can reach me. There are so many different ways you can reach me, and it is kind of clogging up the works, and it has been for a long time, and every now and then I talk about how you can reach me. So I'm going to talk about it again. You can reach me by phone, 360-567-8838. You can always reach me by phone, and the thing I need to say about the phone is if you call me, you will most likely get my voicemail, because it seems I am either in an appointment with a client or I'm on the phone with a client. I am gradually taking myself out of the field and putting myself strictly in my office on remote phone appointments. But that means I'm on the phone almost all day long. So if you do reach my voicemail, please leave a detailed message and then I can get back to you. If you want to email me instead of leaving me a voicemail, I really prefer email because it just makes it so much easier for my ticketing system. Support, SUPPORT, at ComputerDiva.biz. That will send an email right into your client account in my system, and it will make it really easy for me to start responding to you. And if you can give me as much detail as possible about what your issue is, the more the better. And then, of course, on my website, ComputerDiva.biz, I have an online calendar, and it's in the little sidebar on the right-hand side. And I believe right now it's a graphic of a Post-it note that says make an appointment. So click on that, and my schedule is there. You can see available times, and you can make an appointment with me. Even if you need to just talk to me for about 15 minutes, there's an option for a 15-minute phone call. There's an option for, hey, I might have a couple of questions for Computer Diva. You could set up a half-hour call. If you're a Diva Care subscriber, you choose that option, and you have an option for a half-hour call. If you are what I call a break-fix customer, you don't subscribe to any of my Diva Care products, you can set up an hour-long appointment. Right now, I've kind of kept my website to the point where you don't have to pay for your appointment when you set it up. But in pretty soon in the near future, when you do go to my calendar to set up an appointment, I'm going to require that you pay for that appointment ahead of time. So you want to be very mindful about the amount of time you need. If you sign up for a 1-hour appointment and you pay for an hour, but you only need a half hour, you're still going to pay for the full hour. And it all goes back to, you know, people who have been making appointments, they set up a full hour, but then we ended up being on the phone for 15 minutes. And I charge a minimum of 30 minutes, but then that leaves me with a half hour where I can't bill anybody else. So if you set up a half-hour appointment and you give me really good details on the appointment screen, what it is you need me to do, I can then look at that and say, oh, that sounds like an hour. Let's expand that to an hour, and we'll pick up the charges on the backside. So I am working on making that a lot more clear for everybody, so that we can set appropriate expectations, and everybody would be happy. Where can you find me online? On Facebook, it's ComputerDiva WA. On Instagram, it's ComputerDiva MJB. I am on LinkedIn, but I rarely go into LinkedIn. But it's ComputerDiva on LinkedIn. I don't do any other social media because it's just way too time consuming for me. I don't do Snapchat. I don't do whatever else is out there. I don't know what is out there. So anyway, that's where you can see me, and that's how you can reach me. So a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about a couple of the recent jobs I've had and kind of give you just a flavor for what it is I've been up to lately. So I had a job last Friday, and it was with one of my oldest customers, not old in terms of age, but he has been with me almost since the beginning. We worked together at my day job, and we both went out on our own right at the same time. He's a financial planner, and he had me out to his office last Friday, 2 computers in his office, and we were going to, first of all, install a new Wi-Fi router. He had an old Wi-Fi G router, the G technology, which is old, slow. They really are not in circulation anymore. So I had recommended to him, hey, we need to replace your router. And so I sent him a link to a Wi-Fi router to buy. It cost him about $100, and it's the latest technology. It's the AC technology, and super fast. So I installed that. I did basic cleanup on both of the computers. I replaced his AVG Antivirus Free Edition with my Diva Care Managed Antivirus. I was this close to being out the door. I had spent 3 hours there, did a lot of work, and one of the last things I had to do was on his assistant's computer. I was uninstalling the AVG in preparation to install the Diva Care Managed Antivirus, and uninstalled AVG, rebooted the computer, and the computer was hosed. It wasn't hosed to the fact where it wouldn't boot up. It booted up into Windows, but any Windows function that tried to open in the background, or that I tried to open, I was greeted with a system error. Basically, the computer was unusable. And worked on it a little while in his office, and man, I could not get it fixed. And so I brought it back to my office. I worked on it over the weekend, and I want to say a big shout out to Jim from the East Coast. He is a IT colleague of mine, and he was willing to hang with me on a Sunday morning and work with me through chat back and forth, trying various things to get this computer up and running. And he ended up giving me a set of registry keys that actually fixed the issue. And so I want to say thank you to Jim for hanging with me on a Sunday morning and getting that resolved. And I took the computer back to the client Tuesday morning, and got it all set up in the office. And everything has been working fine ever since. We've been doing a few little tweakings here and there, but it's working great. So it was kind of a time suck over the weekend, but my determination to get that computer working for the client again is what really drove me. So got that up and running. So for those of you who don't know, I do a lot of different types of jobs. One of my favorite jobs I did today, I did this morning actually for a client. She's been a client for several years, and she went to my online calendar a couple of days ago. She set up an appointment, and we met this morning through the phone, and I basically helped her shop for a new computer. And it was so much fun, because I love shopping for technology, and what's more fun than helping somebody buy the laptop of their dreams and spend somebody else's money. So that was really a lot of fun. She actually purchased my dream laptop. She got that Intel Core i7 processor. She got the 16 gigs of RAM. She got the 512 gigabyte SSD drive. The only thing she didn't get was a 17-inch monitor, but she's going to be traveling with this laptop. She travels a lot. So one of the criteria was, let's get a laptop under 3 pounds. So that's what we did. She ordered it. It will be here on Saturday. We're going to meet sometime next week, and I'm going to get it all set up for her. The other project I'm going to be doing for her is she has a mid-2011 MacBook Pro that she wants to be using for her iTunes music. And you're just basic fiddling around on at home, but it's not a work computer. We're going to upgrade maybe the RAM in that computer, possibly, but we are going to put in a 512 gig solid state drive, and that will make all the difference in the world in the performance on that laptop. So I'll be doing both laptops at the same time, and this is just dream work for me. I love doing this type of work. And because she's going to be having me do all of that work for her on the 2 new laptops, the 45-minute phone call we had today is not chargeable. I won't charge for that kind of phone call if you have me actually set up the technology once you buy it. That way you get really good solid advice on what type of technology is good for you, And, it's just a win-win for everybody. So those were two of the recent jobs that I've been working on. There's so much in between. I think January has been one of the busiest months I've had in a long time. It's I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the energy that's floating around or the astrology that's out there right now, but I have had emergencies. It seems like almost every day. And when I finish with this radio show tonight, I have another emergency I need to fix. Just found out about it right before this radio show, and so I'll be working again tonight to get that emergency cleared up. So, Amira Beth is watching. Hi, Amira. By the way, Amira, my friend Amira, lives in Hawaii, and she went through that horrible, horrible scare, the missile crisis, the missile threat in Hawaii. And I just wanted to shout out, I'm glad you're watching, Amira, and I'm glad you and everybody else in Hawaii is still with us. Lots of love to you. So one of the things I want to talk about tonight, I've got just a couple of other things that I want to talk about. Everybody has heard about the crisis that's going on right now, the security crisis that's going on right now with the Intel chips. And it's not just Intel chips, it's just chips in general. There's two different ones. One's called Meltdown, one's called Spectre. This is a serious, serious threat. And basically there was a 22-year-old, I can't remember where he's from, somewhere in Europe, I think, who discovered the vulnerability, and it's a hardware issue. And the meltdown, it basically melts kind of security boundaries that your hardware normally takes care of, which basically means if you're going through kind of like an upgrade, your sensitive information like passwords can be revealed if somebody has put some sort of hack on your system. Spectre does kind of the same thing, but it does it with your software programs, and it can kind of cause software programs to reveal sensitive data that's kind of hiding in it. And so if you can imagine, that can kind of, cover a whole broad spectrum of stuff. So all of the big hardware manufacturers are rolling out patches right now. None of your technology is immune. Apple, Windows, HP, Lenovo, Dell, Acer, what have you. They're all coming out with patches, and you need to make sure that you keep your equipment fully patched. So if you get a Windows update and it starts updating on your system, you want to let it update. Now, with that said, the Windows patch has created a lot of issues with computers. I've seen a couple of computers where, usually the older computers, where the Windows patch has been installed and it doesn't play really well with your antivirus software, and it kind of hoses your computer. Which is really unfortunate. And from what I understand, Microsoft kind of pulled that patch and did some work to it. I think they've put it back out there. I really haven't paid that much attention to it. I've been so busy with emergencies. But my point is, in bringing this up, is if you have any Apple devices, iPhones, iPads, MacBooks, MacBook Airs, MacBook Pro, the iMac, if they produce an update, if you get a notification for an update, update it. With the latest Windows computers, you have no choice, you have to update. With Windows 7, you have more control over that. You might want to check your Windows updates and see if there's any available for you, and go ahead and install them. A lot of machinery is also coming out with BIOS patches. The average person isn't really aware of BIOS patches, nor do they pop up on your system. You basically have to visit your manufacturer's website to see if there are any BIOS patches, and you have to download them and install them. They will automatically reboot your computer, and it flashes your BIOS. Now your BIOS is basic input output instructions, and it's the part of your computer when you first start to boot up and you have the black screen and it has the white writing on it. That's your BIOS, and your BIOS tells your computer how to boot up. So if you are not comfortable installing your own BIOS patches, feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to help you out with that. But this is a serious flaw. Nobody has exploited it yet. So as of this point in time, we're all okay, but you need to get your devices patched. So the next thing I want to talk about is New Year's resolutions. I have 3 New Year's resolutions that I want you all to seriously consider doing with your computers. It's a brand new year, 2018. It's usually a time for us to reflect on what you might want to be doing differently with your life. Well, the same thing applies to your technology. You might want to think about what you want to do differently with your technology to keep it humming smoothly, to keep it running efficiently, to kind of, make your life easier. So 3 things. First thing is, get rid of your junk mail. We all have it. We all go to various websites. We sign up with accounts, whether it be Amazon, Dropbox, whatever websites out there, Microsoft, all the various different shopping websites, that once you sign up for an account and you forget to uncheck the little box that says, yes, please send me promotional emails or sales emails, your inbox starts being littered with all sorts of junk mail. And I'm not talking spam here, I'm talking junk mail, because you've legitimately signed up for it. And now they're sending email to your inbox every single day. And it's like, how much can they push their products out on you? And it gets extremely annoying. So clean up your inboxes. So what can you do to clean up your inbox? First of all, you might have an inbox that has a couple of thousand items in it. I've seen inboxes, with like upwards of 20,000 items in them. I actually saw one inbox. Gosh, it was probably a year and a half ago. Over 100,000 emails in that inbox. I literally could not figure out how that email account kept working with 100,000 items in the inbox. That's just amazing, because when your inbox goes out, when your email client, especially if you're using Outlook, if you're using Outlook for your inbox, it has to go out to the internet to pick up your email. And every time it does that, it has to refresh your entire inbox. So if you have a lot of email in there, your email client is going to, it's going to scream, and it's going to say, hey, I'm walking through quicksand here. I can't function. You need to clean me up. So what I'm going to suggest, and is what I do every so often, because I have a hard time keeping up with my inbox, I will create a subfolder in either Outlook, or if it's a Gmail account that I'm going straight to gmail.com on the web, I create a subfolder underneath the inbox. I take everything in my inbox and I move it over to that subfolder. And now my inbox is empty. And psychologically, that gives you a huge boost and makes you feel like, wow, you've done something to really clean up your inbox. It's the same premise as when you were a kid and your mom told you to go and clean your room. You took everything in your room and you threw it in the closet and you closed the door. It's still there and it's in the closet, and when you open that door, it's going to all spill out. But at least when you walk in your room, it looks clean and it's uncluttered, and you have that same feeling with an empty inbox. So from that point on, what you can do is you can then, as email starts coming into your inbox, you can go through, especially with the junk mail. So you get an email from Nordstrom's, and at the bottom of all these emails, these salesy emails, there's an unsubscribe button. If it's email you want to keep getting, fine, don't unsubscribe. But if you don't want it in your inbox anymore, click on that unsubscribe. Now, what they usually say is it's not going to be effective right away. Some say it will take 24 to 48 hours. Others say it may take a week to 10 days. Well, that's bullshit. boom, right away. And if I send out an email 5 minutes later, boom, they're not going to get that email. I have no control over it, which is a good thing. And so these online retailers, they, you know, anyway, don't get me started on that. So the other thing you can do is, especially if you're using Outlook, you can right click on the email, you can go to your junk properties, and you can mark it as junk, which means from that point forward, if anything comes in from that email address, it's going to go into your junk mail folder. If it's legitimate email that you want to get, I'm going to say, so you want to get email from Nordstrom's, you want to get email from Starbucks, you know, maybe there's specials that you want to hear about. I would go into your inbox and I would create a subfolder called retail or sales or whatever it is you want to call it, and then create a rule. Especially in Outlook, you can create those rules. You can right click on the email and go to rules, and you could say create a new rule. And for any email that comes in from this particular address, I want you to send it now to this new retail folder. And once every couple of days, just click on that retail folder and peruse the email that's in there, and then empty it when you're done reading it. And that way it keeps it out of your inbox, and you don't feel like your inbox is becoming cluttered. You're keeping all that junk in the closet, so to speak. And if you want to see that junk, you just kind of open up the closet door, you peek in, you take a quick inventory, and you say, yep, I don't need any of that anymore. And you delete the inbox, or you delete the contents of that retail folder. So that's you know, a really good way to keep that cleared out. Let's see, number 2. So number 1 was to keep your inbox clean. Number 2, passwords. Passwords. I've talked about this multiple times before, and it's one of the things that really trips everybody up. I spend, for most of the jobs I do, I spend a good 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning of each job figuring out what everybody's passwords are. And especially on email, people tell me, you know, if I'm going to go set up a new computer and I say, what's your email password? Well, I don't have one. Well, yes, you do. Everybody has an email password. You cannot have an email account without an email password. So everybody has their little black book that they write their passwords in, or they might have a bunch of these little, you know, index cards, or they might, I don't have any here, Post-it notes, and they might have Post-it notes all around their monitor with all their passwords. They might have underneath their keyboard on the desk, they'll have a whole stack of Post-it notes with all their passwords. You name it, you know, I've seen it. And it's not a good way to keep track of your passwords. So I'm going to suggest that you go the professional route with your passwords, and you get a password management program. I use Dashlane, which I love. There's also 1Password, there's LastPass. All of them are designed to store all of your passwords for your websites. Now, these are website passwords only. That won't store the password for your computer. You're going to have to remember what that is, or have one Post-it note somewhere underneath your keyboard with your computer password. But they will store your passwords, so anytime you go to that particular website, so you're going to Amazon, it will pre-fill your login ID and your password. And it's just a really smart way to go. And you also have the ability to print out your list of passwords. If maybe you want to travel and keep that list with you, maybe you're not taking your computer, but you're going to log in to your accounts from somebody else's computer, then you'll have your list with you. They all have the premise of a master password. So when you go in to first start using the program, you type your master password, and then that gives you kind of the keys to the kingdom for the rest of your passwords. So item number 2, get your passwords under control. When it comes to having me out to work on your computer or remote into your computer to do some work, you're going to save yourself a lot of money because I'm not spending a lot of time figuring out what your passwords are. Number 3, back up your system. I can't tell you how many computers I work on where, hi Vicki, nice to see you watching in here on Facebook. I can't tell you how many computers I work on where they're not backed up, and your really important family photos are not being backed up. For the most part, businesses do back up their computers, but they may not be doing a very good job of it. Or if they do, they don't know how to check their backup to make sure their data is being backed up. So I'm going to say back up your computer, and if you have no idea how to do it, let me know. I can put you on my Diva Care backup plan. It starts at $5.99 a month for 50 gigabytes worth of data. We install the backup software. It automatically backs up your data. And the nice thing about it is it's a managed program, and if for any reason your computer has not backed up in more than 72 hours, I get a notification, and I can call you and I could say, hey, your computer hasn't backed up since last Thursday. You can tell me, well, I haven't had my computer turned on, or maybe you're traveling, you're on vacation, and you've left your computer at home. Yay, you should when you're on vacation. So it just is a proactive way of making sure your data gets backed up. So that is the New Year's resolution for your technology. Number one, make sure you deal with your junk mail. Number two, deal with your passwords. And number three, deal with backing up your data. So with that said, I had a couple of more things I want to talk about, but I'm going to leave those for the next show, which will be in 2 weeks, February 1st, Thursday night, February 1st at 7 p.m. We, at some point in time in the near future, Kelly may be changing up the way our technology handles these shows, which is fine with me. Kelly can do this whatever way she wants because she's in control, she's in charge, she's the producer, and she does a fabulous job. So I wanted to say thank you so much, Kelly. Kelly is with a company called New 72 Media, and they are the producers of this radio show. They also do a lot of other things. They are book publishers, and I have a book up on my shelf that I just bought from them, and it's fabulous. But they have a lot of published authors, and they're continuing to grow. They have a portal of awareness, which is pretty amazing. They have an online marketplace, which I've dabbled in, and it's pretty amazing. So anyway, new72media.com if you want to know more about them. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Kelly for producing the show and doing such a great job. And like she said, if you're having trouble watching this broadcast tonight, it will be up on the YouTube page in a couple of days. And once it's on there, Kelly will post links, I will post links, and you can tune in and watch the replay. So with that said, I will see you all again 2 weeks from tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great 2 weeks. Bye.